Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Third Phase UFO Report. I am your host today, Michael Roser, and I'd like to talk a little bit about this Tic Tac UFO phenomenon and go over a few sightings from the past couple years, and then talk briefly about the show that just aired the other night, wherein Rich Giordano, Doc Skinner, Blake and Brent, Dr. J, Radio Live all talked about this new technology that the Russians have unveiled to us. Now, of course, we don't know how this technology works, but we do have images, and it gets the imagination going. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the first sighting, and I am excited to listen to Blake tell us what he thinks about it.
What's up with the helicopter UFO sightings in Los Angeles? They've been going on recently over the past couple years, and Charles sent this video to us via our Gmail. He stated he captured this earlier this July from Culver City. He states he lives in Culver City and he's up in the hills just enjoying the view, and then noticed some LAPD activity, the choppers. He heard the sound and immediately took out his cell phone and captured something.
So this clip from Los Angeles in 2019 is very interesting, and the reason that I'm choosing to review this one and analyze it today is because I believe this is reflective of the technology that we're just starting to learn about that we actually have within our governmental bodies and within the military. Now, of course, the Tic Tac UFO is pretty much as classic as Billy Meyer and his UFO and Bob Lazar with the sports model. I mean, everybody is very aware and familiar with this particular shape that's been seen in the sky for so many years. So this is really interesting. Now, the first thing I notice right off the bat is that the helicopters that are on the left and the right side of this UFO seem to be equidistant. Now, is it perfect? Probably not, but at first glance, and if you're eyeballing it, they look equidistant. So what's the reason behind that? Are we now looking at some sort of military exercise? Is it possible that perhaps the helicopters have equipment to measure subtle fluctuations given off by the UFO? And of course, I'm saying this in respect to the belief, again, that perhaps this is our technology and they are out there testing it in various ways. So, I mean, again, we're looking at this clip. Everybody seems pretty stationary, which, of course, we can explain very readily with the helicopters, but for this particular shape in the middle that doesn't seem to have any external propulsion, we're still left in the dark as to how it's sitting up there stationary. Now let's get to the next one, where this craft was seen without escorts.
All right, folks, middle of the day, no clouds, some weird cylinder-looking thing. It's got a flashing light on the end. It's not a balloon. It's not a banner. There's no plane. It's just flat up in the sky. It's been moving, then it moves positions, then it's stationary. Mind you, I am sitting in my car.
So here again, we see another classic Tic Tac UFO design in the sky in broad daylight. Now, I want to say very quickly, I believe that the woman who's filming this video, I believe her reaction is genuine. This is the reason why. Not everybody is going to have an explosive reaction or approach it aggressively or with such fervor, I could say, than others. There are some who sit on the side of more of a subtle reaction because they're literally sitting in awe or sort of dumbstruck when they see something outrageous. So you don't get that, again, explosive reaction. You get this very nervous pondering and questioning as they go through if they commentate on what they're seeing. So that out of the way, we're looking at this, again, cigar-shaped UFO, which really kind of looks like a sliver from the distance that we're seeing. But I'm also noticing that it does sit in its environment because the sun is reflecting off of this object as it moves around very slowly. And even the woman had commented that there are times that it's moving and there are times that it is stationary. So that's very interesting to look at. In regards to the shape, I've always wondered, especially with some of these crafts that we can't describe or understand how they're working or how they're propelled, does the shape really play too much of a part? I mean, if you have crafts that have cloaking capabilities or are moving in very non-traditional ways through space, how important is the dynamics of that craft? We've seen bell shapes, we've seen the classic saucers, and here we're seeing Tic Tacs, all very different. But again, it's really interesting to see that there aren't really the kind of contours you would find on a commercial airline, for example. Totally different design.
All right, that was Athena Renee Eastman's video that she submitted to us earlier on our Facebook, and she said that this was captured on the 41st Street in Everett, Washington. She was wondering what it was. She noticed some flashing light in the sky and some UFOs directly by it. We're going to get a close-up look at this video right now, and in my opinion, I'm thinking we're just looking at some kind of a cylindrical balloon. Brett, what's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I like that people are actually on the ground and they're saying, what is that? You'd think people would know what they're looking at. And when we're seeing this thing rotate, it's kind of interesting. You see a flash of light that comes upon it. It almost looks like there's a beam of energy on it. Or could it be just a reflection of mylar glinting off the sun, creating that light that we're seeing?
Now, very quickly, I just wanted to comment on what Blake and Brent had mentioned. Could this be a balloon? Absolutely. I mean, there are commercial balloons out there that are roughly the size of what we're seeing here, the way that it seems to be suspended in air, and of course, the sun reflecting off of this object as it seems to sort of spin in one place. Very, very interesting. All right, let's get to the Russian technology that was recently revealed and talked about by the entire panel. Now, before we jump headfirst into what the panel has to say about this design, there are a few things I'd like to note to start with. There are 4 vents on each side, or at least what I'm assuming are vents because that's what they look like. The body itself is very aerodynamic and reminds me of the body of an insect, obviously without the wings. And of course, again, we're not seeing any way that this thing can actually fly using Newtonian physics. There are lights on the front and back, at least, and I'll be honest with you, this reminds me of the initial architecture that was introduced so many years ago, talking about trains and subways of the future. So this actually reminds me of one of those high-speed trains that some places did get, and others not so much. Let's hear what Giordano from Gufon had to say about this one.
It looks like a Tic Tac. I'm not making this up. Next year in May, they're going to be bringing out the prototype of this vehicle, and it doesn't need wings, it doesn't need a propeller, it seats 2 and the luggage you need comfortably, and you can go about 140 kilometers on a charge, I guess. They're not telling us what the technology is. I can't imagine. What is it? Is it Meta Propulsion? Are they using meta materials? Is this back-engineered alien technology being used for the public in cars? This scares me a little bit. Anytime we talk about flying cars, I get a little nervous because anything built by man can be taken down by man. So when you're talking about high technology, computers, things like that, people could actually hack it, and they could possibly take down the system, and all these cars that are flying around could drop out of the sky. It would be the ultimate attack. It's dangerous. I don't know what material they're using to make this thing fly. Well, I mean, you want to talk about anti-gravity. Some people don't believe in gravity. So I don't know what kind of technology will be used. Obviously, it'll be run by a computer that you just type in the destination you want to go to, and every car that's in that computer system is tracked, monitored, and you get to your destination from point A to point B in no time. But it does scare me because it is technology that we don't understand. What happens if you get in an accident, or you crash, or what, and it explodes? What is it made of? Is it a nuclear fusion reactor? You know what I mean? Do we need 1.21 gigawatts of power? I mean, will a lightning bolt jumpstart your car one day if it's not going to work? I mean, this is crazy what they're talking about. No wings, no propellers. And it can go about 4,500 feet up. So it goes pretty high, it goes pretty far, and it's pretty cool. I just want to know what kind of anti-gravity propulsion are they using. Is it element 115? Did they happen to figure that out and control it? And they're using it now? They have to tell us next year. So we'll find out next year in May with this car that supposedly can fly without wings and propellers, seats too comfortably. All I want to know is, when's the hoverboard coming out?
I have to agree with Rich on this. When is the hoverboard coming out? I mean, we all want one. All right, so, Rich is making some really interesting points here when it comes to this model. One of the questions I had as well was, how is this thing going to react in respect to an accident? How are there going to be safety measures implemented? Will the thing crash and smash to some degree and then pop out a parachute? How are we protecting those occupants in these crafts so high in the sky? We're so close, and it seems this way, to understanding some of the more esoteric technology that we have had knowledge of for years, just not collectively. Whatever technology is used to propel this craft, it may have been military at one time, but it will be public knowledge sooner than later. It really makes me wonder what the military has in respect to technology if they're ahead of us nearly 100 years in that field. Absolutely incredible. All right, next up is Dr. J Radio Live.
What does Russia have planned now? Obviously, a Tic Tac looking device that is meant to be traveling intra-city, meaning in the city, in short distances. Now, of course, we are in the 6 months to disclosure, so could this be the same technology that Commander David Fravor saw? Well, first of all, let's take a look at the shape. It is identical. I mean, clearly this looks like a Tic Tac. Now, Commander David Fravor is not a stupid person. And of course, being a pilot with tens of thousands of flight hours and a military pilot at that, he definitely knows what he saw. He did not claim he saw any windows or anything that looks like what we're looking at in this Russian technology. Moreover, what you're hearing about with this Russian technology is basically the limitations of it. Completely opposite of what Commander Fravor said. I mean, the lack of distances that this new Tic Tac, the Russian Tic Tac device can go. The maximum height it could travel to. I believe it's at 1,500 meters or something like that. Even the distances is very short. And let's also not forget that in the actual Tic Tac, when I say the actual Tic Tac, I'm referring to the Dave Fravor Tic Tac event. He described speeds that were beyond supersonic sounds or speeds, yet they did not break the speed barrier, the sound of speed. Moreover, you also have other aerodynamics. For instance, in the other gimbal and go fast videos where the right angle turns were being observed, where normally inertia would destroy whatever pilots or humans on board. Now, if this was Russian technology that was meant to be a drone and therefore inertia didn't apply to things like this, then I would have to say, okay, we're looking at something that's making a little progress. Now, I'll tell you what I ultimately think. Now we're going to get to the verdict. So, because we have the 6 months to disclosure countdown, What this reminds me of is the Aero car. Basically, in the 1950s, after everyone started seeing flying saucers, people up in Canada decided to build a flying saucer craft. Of course, it didn't work using our typical propulsion. It actually was a massive failure. What I'm gathering here is that the Russians are trying to create a Tic Tac type of aircraft that's going to be superior to what we have now, based upon what Commander David Fravor and others got to see. So, is this new and exciting technology? Absolutely. No propellers, no engines, absolutely. However, I don't think we're going to see anything groundbreaking.
In this instance, I have to politely disagree with Dr. J because I think just the proposal of this technology is groundbreaking. Dr. J brings up some great points here, and the first one I'll address is that these crafts might actually be an attempt to mimic some sort of UFO that we've seen in the sky already. It wouldn't explain how we have an understanding of some sort of this Meta Propulsion, but it does stand to reason that we would attempt to copy something that we believe to be superior in the way of scientific advancement. Dr. J continues to bring up these great points, and one of the things that he says initially is that David Fravor didn't see any windows in the Tic Tacs that he had witnessed. Could he have possibly been seeing some earlier models of this technology? Some prototypes, perhaps? I think it's very curious that nobody's witnessed the breaking of sound barrier when these crafts are in flight. There's no sound attributed, and there's no indication that that's occurring. What kind of technology are you familiar with that can fly at such high speeds and doesn't break the sound barrier? Personally, I'm not savvy to it. Next in line to give his opinion is Brent Cousins.
What's kind of interesting is that there's been a secret Space Force program just kind of revealed recently, just a couple years ago with their last administration. Now, we've been seeing this new kind of tech that's kind of making the forefront. I know they've been talking about technology that's going to be revealed. What's interesting is that Russia has its own secret space force that's been in activity for over 2 decades. So what we're looking at is something different. They announced that this is something coming from the Russians, new technology. Now, they say this was going to be kind of showcased to the world sometime next year in March. That's kind of interesting due to the fact that they're showing us this prototype at this Dubai convention. What's the propulsion behind this? They're saying that there's no propellers or wings. That's fascinating to even comprehend what's behind this. Is there some sort of magnetic pull, some sort of new tech that we just haven't seen yet? Could this be reverse alien technology that the Russians had in their possessions for decades, and they're going to start implementing it in these new spacecraft or these transportation devices, aeromobiles as they call it?
I'm certainly attracted to the idea that this technology might be part of the 180-day disclosure, but this is from Russia, so maybe they have their own agendas behind this release. Now think of the possibilities this type of craft might present in even peripheral technology. It's really fascinating, and if extraterrestrials are giving us this technology, they're certainly not targeting one group of people or one country. They're talking to all of us. Doc Skinner's up next. Let's hear what he has to say.
Oh, this is gonna be fun, guys. Someone roll the Jetsons music. I mean, could the promises of the Jetsons finally be coming true? Could that small, autonomous, well, I don't know if it was autonomous, I think George Jetson got to fly his vehicle, but it held 2 plus enough luggage in this case, their boy Elroy. And so this company out of Russia, Next, created the Fly-Tur Airmobile and presented at the Dubai Expo recently. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Granted, it's just a drawing and a promise. And they say that there are no normal moving parts or engine or turbines or wings of any kind. And that the way that they're going to fly this, they're applying for patents right now. So, some flags go up, of course. And you think, could this be a civilian version of the Tic Tac we've all heard about and seen? Could it be that Russia is the ones or are the ones that possess the Tic Tac, and they want to get a leap on things by bringing it out in a civilian fashion. In this case, the Flighter. Fully autonomous. Goes, let's see, can travel 93 miles, up to 62 miles per hour, and up to 5,000 feet. Can land in a parking space, and all of this by fully autonomous. Does this sound exciting, or should this be scary? Lots of questions about this. It's just a drawing, but they say the prototype will be ready next year. So I am looking forward to seeing that. And discovering what type of engine operates this vehicle. Or is it toroidal, like the TR-3B? It's exciting, it's interesting. I hope and pray it's not a publicity stunt, but it looks pretty darn cool. It kind of reminds me of Star Trek. Remember their little shuttle pods that would come flying down? It makes me think of that. But I wouldn't be too upset if I saw these flying around. I think they're pretty cool. Let's just hope it's real. But the fact it has no wings, no engine, will it be silent or will it make noise? Lots of questions. And the answers, of course, will come hopefully sooner than later. So we'll keep checking on this. It's a great story. It's really cool.
I'm curious, is there any way that we could see these patents? I'm not sure if they're released to the public in any way or they need to be approved first, but it'd be something to look into. I'm also interested in how this technology may fit into the false flag invasion idea. I mean, considering we have technology and we're using propulsion in certain ways that we never had before or seem to be so far outside of the box, if a spacecraft or some sort of mothership were to land utilizing the same technology, I don't think we would have the same reaction. Also, given the path we've seen certain Tesla cars take, I'm kind of concerned that this is fully automated. It had to be perfect in the process before they could safely put anyone into the vehicle. So again, like Doc says, there are a lot of questions. And last but not least, let's hear what Blake Cousins has to say.
The implications behind this technology are astounding. Could this be the infamous technology behind the Tic Tac seen by our Navy pilots? How long has this tech been around? Is it a brand new discovery or has it been in existence for a long time and they're just slowly bringing it out to us? Almost a slow drip drip disclosure. Who out there wants one of these for themselves? What would be the cost of one of these vehicles? We're gonna find out soon.
That's right, Blake. We'll be finding out much more real soon. Folks, we are living in the future. What we knew as science fiction yesterday is now a reality. I wouldn't be surprised to see more of this type of technology emerge as we go forward and, as Blake says, in one word or another, sooner than later. Folks, I want to thank you all for joining us here at Third Phase UFO Report. Again, I am your host, Michael Roser, for the evening. Thank you all and have a fantastic rest of your night. Keep your eyes on the skies. We'll see you next time on Third Phase UFO Report.